Welcome, everybody, to the Loud and Drunk podcast. This is Dan bringing us in. I've said on the podcast before that I am a big sports guy. One thing that I haven't gotten into in terms of sports, though, is sports betting. And with sports betting legalization, it is absolutely skyrocketed. I can't make it through a game without DraftKings or FanDuel absolutely pummeling me with advertisements. I can't even get through like a third period without them giving me like the line for the third period or fourth quarter, what have you. But with it becoming more mainstream, there's also a stigma with sports betting, especially recently with two stories in particular. Shohei Ohtani of Major League Baseball, his interpreter allegedly stole $16 million from him to place bets with a bookie. And then in the NBA, Jontay is banned from the league because he gave inside information about his health to a bettor and then took himself out of the game after having played something like 3 minutes. So it really adds into the idea that gambling can affect the integrity of sports. And this is not without precedence, because obviously when you talk about baseball and you talk about betting,
Pete Rose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loved him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he gets the tombstone every once in a while.
I thought it was a choke slam from Kane, but
yeah. Oh, I always thought it was the tombstone. But
slippery slope, boys.
But he's not the only one. There have been multiple, athletes through multiple leagues who have gotten into issues with gambling. And then the biggest one in the history of sports is the 1919 World Series, the Black Sox scandal.
Yes.
When the White Sox purposefully threw the World Series to get back at their owner because he was stiffing them on the salary.
I thought that was just Major League.
No, that's a movie. So I say all of this as I set the table for the podcast here. With sports betting being legalized, we open the door to this becoming a more mainstream issue, that maybe the integrity of the game will now be compromised even further. Because it's one thing for a Jontay to be banned from the NBA because he's a nobody. He was in the G League half the time too. But if LeBron James or Steph Curry were to do that, do you guys think the NBA would do anything about that? Because I sure as hell don't.
I am inclined to agree with you there. Hi, I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin.
Hello, Moses.
Hello, Justin.
Ooh, who do we have joining us today?
Oh, my name is Simon Cook.
Simon Cook.
Yep, former ball player. Just very happy to be here.
Did you play with the Pirates?
I've been known to play with some Pirates.
Oh, that's weird.
Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
But,
really enjoying myself.
Oh,
gross.
Well, at least he's on that side of the recording bar.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. It's nice to have you, Simon, but let's get back to the task at hand. Justin.
So, yes, you brought up pretty much like the big points if you know anything about sports betting that's happened in the past. Obviously, 1919, the whole World Series situation, big time betting issue. Pete Rose, obviously. I'll start with Jontay first because I find him more classically in the lines of the ones that happened in the past, where he gave essentially like insider trading information about his own health and to a bettor, and then, some other kind of dubious type thing with leaving the game after 3 minutes, as Dan said earlier.
Did that guy benefit from that, whoever he told?
I believe the bettor won a certain amount of money. Let me, because I have this pulled up.
Right. See, that is the classic thing. It's to understand it, it's this guy giving information to a bettor about his own health, how he might be performing one way or another, like prop bet style. You are leaning the favor to the bettor. You're taking away the fairness. It's not like betting on your own game, but it's in the benefit of money being made.
It's like insider trading.
It's exactly. Insider trading. And I can answer your question now, Moses, because another bettor privy to the information placed an $8,000 same game parlay bet that featured unders on Porter's statistics and would win $1.1 million. Now, he didn't actually win it because DraftKings did not pay out the bet.
Oh, okay.
But he technically, won the bet.
But he would have won the bet because he didn't play enough time to actually.
They just bet on how much time the players are going to play.
Because it's not even time. Like if the way a parlay would work, especially if you're doing basketball, like let's say my bet for Jontay in the game against the Sacramento Kings would have been he's going to score over or under 20 points. So for that situation, I know he's not going to play very long.
Right.
I'm going to take under.
Take the under.
How many rebounds? Under. How many You can bet on a lot of things. So like
it's
steals,
amazing what you can bet on.
minutes
You
played.
can bet on
Anything. Absolutely. So that lies the insider trading aspect of it in compromising the integrity of the game itself.
Yes.
What does that phrase mean? The integrity of the game. what is that? I'm not familiar.
Well, it's interesting too because, and it's another thing that we can talk about. Was there ever really any integrity to sports? Because boxing had this issue long ago. So did horse racing.
So did wrestling.
But wrestling was always scripted, and you can actually bet on wrestling now.
Yes.
Anyway, which is bizarre to me because it's scripted.
Yeah, isn't that the same thing that they're chastising this basketball player for?
Yes, it is. I don't understand why you'd be able to Cody Rhodes is going to go over. Okay, so they might just change the script and screw everybody over. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but that's a hard audible to call. That shit's all planned.
Yeah, that's why.
It has to be.
Because if you can see, and that lies, the insider trading aspect of it too. Because if you know the outcome of the game, or in this particular instance using wrestling, the outcome because it's scripted, and you're like, all right, well, the line is for Cody to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, shit, that line is so good. Why don't we just bet on it and then have Roman go over? And that's the issue with all of these other sports that aren't supposed to be scripted. Ask NFL fans if they think that NFL is scripted, though. For these sports that are supposed to not be.
Right.
Scripted. It could throw everything into freaking chaos because if you think that this game actually got like a fair outcome and then somebody's taking a dive, somebody's not playing, somebody's pretending to be sick, there's no fair competition.
Yeah,
in
well,
that.
that's kind of it though, because like I've wrestled and I've played ball and I rode a horse once and I still do not know what the word integrity is.
There's a place out west called Tegrity Farms.
Okay.
God, goodness.
I'm into that.
That's it.
That's
Go
it.
on.
That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I'm just trying to feel it out.
I weighed out how this would go, and I decided to take the ride.
Thank you.
No, we're
You're
here.
welcome.
We're here, and it's about the journey. Is it worse that this basketball player did that? I don't remember the details of it, but there was a basketball referee who was placing bets on the game.
That's
I
right.
can't, I vaguely remember
That was
it.
the point shaving scandal. I think
Yeah.
it involved, I think, the Kings-Lakers series from a few years ago.
It was a while ago.
Like 2002, 2003 or
Yes.
something like that. I
Yeah.
can look into it.
Yeah.
But I remember that distinctly. And he actually, I think he got like punished for that.
I think he got fired and fined or something.
I can look into that.
but-
That's a good pull. I actually totally forgot about that whole situation. I mean, yeah, granted, it was like 20 years ago, but yeah, that was.
But he literally controls the game, more or less.
In ways,
you know.
yes. Yeah, you can definitely influence the game.
I feel like a lot more than just you sitting the bench. You know, like you have other professional players on that team that can pick up that slack, or at least should be able to.
If we're going to talk about like the sanctity of betting on sports, there are a lot of factors that can go into it, and a lot of people can be bought and sold, not just with money, but with whatever. People can be influenced to do things to get a certain end.
Everybody's got a price
sex right now.
You could be.
We could be.
Yeah, all right.
But I mean, it is betting ever really sacrosanct? Like, is it ever like pure? Like, not really, but like there is something very much to be said with sports betting, with people actually affecting the outcomes of games. Well, I mean, it's so easy to bet now, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later because pretty much anybody can do it from their phone now. But sports betting is huge, huge now.
Well, I mean, I would say that the bottom line is that you've got people who are betting on horses for the longest time, and that's never really changed. And that's been rigged since forever.
Yeah,
that's true.
It doesn't stop anybody from betting on it. Doesn't stop anybody from enjoying it. So what's the problem?
Horses are a more majestic animal than your average.
You're telling me
player.
I rode a horse once. I ever tell you about that?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get into that in the overtime
the boiled
section that we
peanut
don't
story
post.
all over again.
Oh, that's only where it begins.
That's a
It's
cracker
not where it
joke.
ends. It actually does end with a very different boiled peanut story.
Oh, Dan, it looks like you have something to say.
Thank God.
Yeah, because you
Thank
guys you just go to lunacy immediately.
I'm a guest here.
Yeah, of course you are. I did look into this. It was 2008 on June 11th, 2008. I believe this guy is Tim Dowdy. He was the official involved with this. The game referred to was widely believed to be Game 6 of the 2002, so it was right about the approximate year.
Yeah, right.
Western Conference final between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings, in which the Lakers shot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Dowdy also referred to a playoff series where Team 3's owner alleged that referees were letting a Team 4 player get away with illegal screens. So essentially, this is all just coming into the idea that he was improperly refereeing playoff games in order to
make money,
get his bets in.
Yeah. But
Get
I mean,
paid.
well, that's the thing. You have so many professional sports are such a huge mechanism, so many moving parts. All it takes is one cog to be influenced.
I feel like the problem with the concept here of like, is the gambling an issue? We're talking about it like it's an actual sport. The entirety of what it is about making money.
It's about making money, but what we're talking about is making money on the side by placing bets.
God forbid somebody make money besides the NFL.
The players make money too, man.
They
I don't know what you're getting at.
I did pretty well riding horses.
Now, in 1919, when they're getting stiffed by the owner, you can make a case that, like, all right, they got easily bought off by the person that wanted them to do this.
It's also why they make ungodly money today. That's a big part of it. They want to make them unbuyable.
Yeah,
now that's major league.
Which is why what made the Shohei Ohtani story so interesting, because he is already like the Babe Ruth of this generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Great pitcher, great hitter. I don't know if he's the highest paid player in baseball, but if he's not, he's the highest paid. He's one of the highest paid players.
Dan, just and I say this as an athlete, you can never be too rich.
Okay, thank you.
His situation is a bit more complex.
Yes, it was bizarre because I don't want to get into the legality of it because it's still an ongoing thing. But essentially, everyone was thinking, like, how the hell do you not keep track of your money and like let this guy, your interpreter, like have free reign over your bank account? But it would make sense if all you're doing is paying attention to playing ball. Like,
yeah, but that's like even not in sports. Musicians and shit, they just lose track of money. Like their manager or family member just steals it.
Ohtani's like situation is weird. So like his interpreter, I can't remember his name. I think it starts with an M. Matasuki or something along those lines.
There's like an I and a M. Like,
name.
I don't know how to
He's
say
like, so he's known this guy since he's 18. They're like butt buddies together.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's his interpreter, but he also like catches for him. Like, I think like the
practice in the dugout or
I think it's like
I interpret
the Grand Slam game thing that they do and stuff like that. They're very weirdly intertwined.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the interpreter for him when he was on the Angels. Prior to this, I can look into that. But he got fired from the Dodgers after this scandal came to light.
Yes.
What do the Angels have to say about that?
I don't know.
The ones in the outfield.
Well, the interesting about it, too, is 38 states have sports betting legal in this country. California is not one of them. And he went from a California team to another California team. So he was at no point...
Oh, right. He's on the Dodgers now.
Yeah,
right?
The interpreter was at no point doing anything remotely legal. He was still doing something that was illegal by state law.
Yeah.
So he's already in hot soup, so to speak.
Can I bring up just a little funny yuck?
Yes.
So before he came over here, he was playing in Japan, and he was playing for the Nippon Ham Fighters, which I think is one of the best names I've ever heard.
That is a fun name.
That's incredible.
They fight ham.
It sounds like they fight ham.
It's like a Foo Fighter, but with ham.
Yes.
What is foo?
I think they're just UFOs, honestly.
Wow. All right. I can talk about that.
We'll
All right.
We'll bring you back for that episode.
Right. UFOs. Let's do it.
Oh, I think we already did it. Sorry.
We may have.
I've been betting on them.
Of course you have.
Yeah.
Ohtani's situation, he's got this best friend interpreter butt buddy situation going on, and the story kind of goes that this guy is just making bets through this bookie guy and just making bets and making bets and making bets, getting really in the hole. Ohtani just writes checks. Essentially, this is how he gets essentially brought into this. He writes checks to this bookie guy, this bookie as loans.
Question.
Yes.
Real quick. The bets that he's placing, you said that he's getting in the hole? He's losing these bets?
Oh, yeah, no, his debt is getting bigger.
Then what's the issue?
Fuck is that?
Why does anybody care if he's losing?
That's why
who
I'm
gives a
saying
shit?
Ohtani's situation is weird and complex.
Well, what was happening, too, he was getting into the hole because when you're bet with an illegal bookie, you're allowed to just take credit.
Yeah, he's betting on credit. That's a big point.
And so that's one of the big reasons for some of the conspiratorial thoughts is you can say it's like bookies aren't just going to say oh, Joe Schmo, I'm going to take you at your word and take credit because that's not reliable.
No, you need the juice for it.
But if you
That's always a percentage.
If you go to somebody and you say, I have Shohei Ohtani backing this, the person's going to be like, Okay.
All right.
You've got money to play with then, and I'm
Right.
going to allow you to place these bets even though you don't have the money on you right now.
Right.
But it's not even
Well, that's
him
a bad
making these
bookie.
bets. It's his manager or whatever
Was
making the bets.
Yeah, it was the interpreter. But the interpreter could have just lied or
But
just did
Ohtani paid money on the back end to cover his boy.
Maybe
And
it's
that's
just
how he got wrapped into it, because they raided the bookie's house or like
Oh,
office of
okay.
operation and found the wire transfers from Ohtani.
Oh, shit.
so maybe
You do that
Ohtani's
shit
just trying to pay off his friend's debt because he got it, like his friend got in too deep and he's just trying
However
to
you
wash
want to
this.
believe this, the story goes back and forth numerous times, well beyond what I've even
If
gotten
you're breaking the law, then don't wire the money.
Unless it's from the Cayman account.
Oh, that's fair. That is how we normally do it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's making this one so complicated. And then the stories have changed multiple times because obviously you're dealing with MLB. So it's like his best friend interpreter guy said this one story. And then now all of a sudden Ohtani doesn't know anything about this. And then it's just bouncing all over the place. And it's still ongoing. So
it's
it's
still
like,
ongoing. And he did this bizarre press conference where normally in a press conference, you take questions, you get asked by the reporters. They just assembled the reporters, read a statement, and left.
yeah.
Oh, so it's just State of the Union.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. State of Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Yeah,
hope
so
they're doing well.
his situation is weird and ongoing. So, I mean, that's what it is. It's very odd, but like the trouble comes from because essentially covering his friend's debts because he was betting on credit made him the payee.
Implicated,
Yeah. So it's weird and complicated. Like, there's no answer to this. Let's just all understand it's very strange.
And that was one of the big things, too. It's like if you ban Pete Rose and we find out that Shohei Ohtani was actually the one betting on it, do you ban Shohei Ohtani? And my point at the beginning of the show is that's the last thing that baseball would want to do.
Right.
That's the last thing that the NBA would want to do if it was one of their stars, because especially the
I feel
NBA.
like they have to if they did that to Pete Rose. Like, you have to ban it.
What
Like,
was
at least-
Ohtani's deal? Like $640-something million?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You can look that up as well.
It was like a Paramount deal, like huge, absolutely huge. He's like the it guy right now. And I'm like, I barely follow baseball anymore, and I know about this guy. And he's like all over the place. But like I said, in his situation, it's so just like bananas, and no one knows actually what's going on. It's largely he's involved because they raided this bookie's house and found the receipts of the wire transfers.
It's so great that the government can get involved with all of that, but they can't actually do anything meaningful.
Right.
It's like, oh, this guy was betting on baseball. Like, oh, how dare you? You
Yes.
were worse than Hitler. But the deal, the information for that is a 10-year contract worth $700 million.
$700 million.
How far is he into it?
This is his first year as a
First
coach.
year.
Oh, wow. He really fucking blew his load on that, huh?
Yeah.
He probably should have waited till his fifth to start paying it back.
Well, deals are complicated. If you want to get somebody to have a fucking deal, good fucking luck.
But it takes me back to the question that I posed at the beginning of the podcast is that it seems to me that this is just a two-tiered system waiting to happen, where you're going to have the days of banning a Pete Rose
Sure.
are gone.
Yeah.
Especially with how married the leagues are with DraftKings, with FanDuel, with these sports betting, services. If you found like the equivalent of like a Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, and they got caught gambling, they just sweep it right under the rug. Or maybe like Chris Carter encouraged, some NFL players back in the day, get yourself a fall guy.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, like, what does integrity mean? I'm just
Can you-
trying to
can you please
understand. I
look
want to
that
be a
up for
part of
him?
the conversation.
I might mute you for the rest of the episode. Justin, this is a reoccurring thing. Who books these fucking guests?
You know what? We should really get down to the bottom of this situation.
I was
usually
sleeping
the back
outside.
page.
You guys invited me in. I could use like a little place to sleep maybe tonight. And if anybody has some snacks.
we will figure that out later.
All right, thank you.
No
There's
problem.
a flare gun you can gnaw on right over there.
We've been doing this, I don't know how long, but it's been over a year, and I'm still very confused about our booking situation.
I think we need a new manager.
We need a new booking manager. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely.
In fairness, Walter McGillicuddy told me if I slept outside that this podcast would be going on.
He doesn't work here.
That's
It just
fine.
seems like you're talking to strangers and pinning that on
It
us.
clearly worked out. So
No,
I
I
don't know
drink
what
with
we're talking
Walter.
about.
Like we
Yeah.
play canasta. But
Maybe I rigged the
he
game.
doesn't.
I don't know.
He doesn't work here.
Okay, moving on, because we're still talking about the stigma of sports betting.
All right, so Dan, what you're saying, the difference between our two examples here, like Ohtani and Jontay.
Yeah.
far different calibers of recognition and playership. One's gone, and one most likely will end up being nothing.
Yeah.
Was the basketball player anything to begin with?
No. He was a two-way basketball player. So that means he could go between the NBA and the G League.
Yeah.
So he was
pro league. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he was the type of player that like if we can make an example out of this guy, that's the guy to make an example.
He was the perfect target for it.
But my thesis of this part is that they would not dare do that to a Steph Curry, to a LeBron James,
No,
to
probably
anybody.
not. Yeah.
Well, because it's
They're a draw.
There are so many factors. They are these faces, these big time faces for any of the leagues mean so much money in merch, advertising, and so many different things attached to that.
Yeah.
And
just ratings.
That's hurting their own, well, ratings especially too. It doesn't behoove them to punish them equally as somebody like a Jontay.
Yeah. It's a star-driven league.
Yeah.
But most
Even if they were cheating?
Yeah. No, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They just blame somebody else if they were cheating or gambling or whatever.
But that's not rigged. If the issue is that in some ways the rigging of it lends itself towards some sort of an unfair gameplay, essentially, that it lends itself towards that, and then that and basically that's the point of question, is that in some way influencing the game, then the different treatment of players is a second layer of that, in which case basically the rigging is totally accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what's the problem? What's the problem? So then basically the game is rigged.
Yeah.
Period.
And
then gambling is totally acceptable on it. It has no impact on the game because it's always rigged.
It's not always rigged. It's supposed to not always be rigged. But the idea is that with this marriage between gambling companies and these sports leagues is that the gambling itself will be more important than it not being something like professional wrestling where you know it's scripted and it's rigged and all that. That's the point.
With
the
wrestling,
difference.
more people know.
Well, it's the difference between sports and sports entertainment.
Well, it's also, too, more people know, but now they're not watching it because they're like, oh, that guy really earned the title or anything like that. They're watching it because they want to watch it for the story. It's a freaking soap opera.
Yeah. I mean, not that it never was, but.
And you're going to not get a single goddamn soul to watch baseball if you know it's a soap opera, because baseball, I don't care if it's scripted or not, is still fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's very boring.
Yeah, it is.
Very boring.
But you know what's also not boring and still has stigma attached to it?
The Loud and Drunk podcast.
Maybe.
Wow.
Some people don't like us.
I know.
We'll unpack that another time.
I'm one of those people. I don't like us.
But gambling in and of itself has a stigma around it too.
Yeah, it does. It does. Some people can't handle it. How do we break this down?
Gambling is fun. People
It is fun.
like to gamble. It has a stigma around it because obviously people find it as being like a tremendous vice and don't know when to cut themselves off.
It is one of those
because
things that is a vice. It's a vice.
Yeah. Some people don't know when to stop drinking. Hello. Some people don't know when to stop a lot of other vices.
Yeah.
And gambling is one of those things. It's got a big like reward risk thing to it. I think that it is very much so. I mean, if you're at a casino, then it's very clearly rigged against you. They publish those numbers.
Yeah, they tell you straight up that it is.
It's a saying. The house always wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you do it because you like the rush.
Yeah.
It's the rush of the chance to change your fucking life.
Yeah, it's the same thing with sports betting. It's the same thing with all different types of betting. At the casino, it's very clear cut because they have to tell you. With sports betting, there's a little bit more thrill there because you don't know what other people know. With horse betting, it's even more wild because the horse can't talk. That's really what it comes down to. That's the honest
a couple
truth.
that talk.
Yeah, that's true. I have met Mr. Ed, and honestly, that horse is old as shit right now, so I don't know what's going down.
Well, what about hot to trot?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, I'm about to mute you.
Thanks, Mr. Peabody. I love that Wayback Machine.
What? It was a horse voiced by John Candy. Fuck Mr. Ed.
But yeah, it's
Mr. Ed paved the way.
It carries with it a stigma because you've got those, however you want to word it, but like the bad apples that ruin the bunch.
well, yeah. So
Some people don't know how to control themselves.
Well,
Exactly right.
it carries that stigma though around it too because it can potentially increase crime rates wherever it goes. Like it's Atlantic City is not essentially a safe place to be.
Yeah. The bottom line is that yes, absolutely. If you're somebody who has a predisposition towards like that type of gambling and you run out of money and you've already swiped your mortgage and traded in your newborn child to the casino for a couple more chips, then obviously you're going to just go and start like poking around the, the neighborhood, see what you can find.
How to get that fix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the nature of any type of vice, though, I think. So that's basically more or less, that's the stigma of it. The religious connotation towards it. Obviously, it's like most of the mainstream religions don't allow gambling.
I thought they all have bingo.
What's that?
They all have bingo.
Is that true?
Yeah. Like any church you go to has a bingo night.
I'm a pagan, so
I don't know if Baptists and such have bingo nights, but I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, gambling exists all around us to varying degrees. You go to any like nice event and they got a 50-50 going around.
Yeah.
You know
gambling,
what I mean?
absolutely. It's like back in the day, you used to have the numbers games.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Keno,
enough. Yeah, exactly. If you go way back into the United States, you had numbers games. And if you were like up in New York,
the lottery is essentially Keno.
Well, that's where I was going. Exactly. It's that the state, the federal government, et cetera, they banned the numbers games and they replaced it with the lottery.
Yeah, because they couldn't get their cut from the numbers games. They get their cut from the lottery.
Numbers game. Yeah, they saw something very
You're only
profitable.
paying 15 taxes? Here's 16.
Yeah, also those numbers games had way better odds, and you can still play those at your local bar. So just check that out.
You ever been to a VFW?
Just for the dollar beers.
Oh,
Well, you guys are talking about that you essentially can gamble at church. Guess where you can gamble in just a little bit?
What? Where?
Dave and Buster's is allowing customers to bet on arcade games.
I'm way into that.
Okay.
I need this broken down. To me.
Allow me to mentally unpack this.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
So you pay to play the game. So what are you betting against each other? Say if you're playing like a 2-person game or something like that.
Yeah, like if we're sitting there, like we go to Dave and Buster's and we're playing Tekken, and it's me versus you.
Tekken.
That's the only game that I've ever really played in, other than like X-Men. But we're on the same team
was
on
like
that.
30 years old.
You've been to Dave and Buster's, right?
No.
Well, you're probably better. It's like Chuck E. Cheese with alcohol.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that it was that. But no, I've never been to one.
I've only been
I think less animatronics.
I've been twice. I've been to the one in Philadelphia twice.
I went to the one in New York once, and
They apparently have one down in AC now. I just heard that the other day.
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I've been
Nick
to one
told
in
me.
like Hartford.
Okay.
I was up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I was thinking Canada.
It's a
Hartford,
big
Canada.
It's essentially a big Chuck E. Cheese for adults where you can drink at.
You can drink and you can play like arcade games if you want, but like for me, I'll probably like not leave the bar.
Well, there's also like 8,000 TVs. They always have games on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's also, I remember it being quite expensive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then you have to like, in order to play any of the games, you need to get like a card.
Well, yeah,
Just to,
so
like,
they have their
Proprietary
system where
Proprietary.
yeah, it's not like you're rolling up with a roll of quarters.
Yeah.
You're paying X amount to get X amount of credits, so you're automatically being shafted on that in any degree.
Well, they do that at the casinos now too, at the like little arcades that they do have, not the like the gambling part, but they have
What are
little.
you talking about?
At Showboat, most of that is just like a indoor boardwalk, and you buy a card with points on it, and you could do the random things that they have.
I forgot about that. I haven't been to Showboat in 20
We went
years.
with the kids.
Because on the note of gambling, because Showboat isn't a casino anymore, so
it's just a family fun park.
So now, exactly, yeah,
Which is just
you
weird.
just exchange your money for tokens, and then you bet those tokens, but you're not betting money.
It's like going to the
they're
Carney
tokens.
boardwalk. Like it just smells like piss, and there's like okay things to do,
I'm down with that.
but it's indoor, so it smells worse than piss.
Yeah, there's nowhere for the piss to get out.
There isn't.
Yeah.
All right. So here's one paragraph from the story from CNBC.
Sure.
Customers can soon make a friendly $5 wager on Hot Shots basketball game, bet on a skee ball competition, or another arcade game. The betting function, expected to launch in the next few months, will work through the company's app. Here's a bunch of stuff.
A friendly $5 wager.
Yeah.
If I was the government, I would call that illegal.
And I thought friendly wagers were
all of a
like
sudden,
$10,000.
A whole bunch of people getting paperwork from the government.
The gamification company or whatever, Lucra, that's involved with this.
Okay.
And Dave and Buster's said that there would be a limit placed on the size of the bets that it'll allow, but they're not publicly disclosing that threshold yet.
Oh, of course.
Lucra said across its history, the average bet size has been $10.
Oh, I was going to say 10,000.
Nah, you're not going to get yourself into a hole like Shohei Ohtani's interpreter.
I wonder what the VIG is. There's got to be a fake,
It's
right?
got to be like
20%,
5 or 10%.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Well, first of all, casinos always, every betting establishment that's legal skims the change.
Right.
Oh,
The
yeah.
change is obviously anywhere between a penny and 99 cents. So
Yeah.
it adds up. On top of that, it's just I don't know, the general notion of the way in which that operates. It's the same exact thing as everything else.
It's weird getting the company getting involved of what people are probably already doing. Like they put $5, like, oh, well, get the highest score on skee ball between like if me and you were to go there.
But you got to do it through their app, right?
Yep. You have to do it through their app.
I mean, if you really want to do it,
Just
fucking
do it.
cash between
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
If you really want to do something like that.
but that's not what they told us to do.
cut out
mean,
the
that's
middleman
fair.
and
Right.
just like, hey, man, I bet I'm going to get, I'm gonna-
Whoa, Dan, cut out the middleman? Listen,
Yeah,
this is
what about
America, my
government?
friend. Yeah.
No corporate entity.
I might just be a guest on this show, but we're not cutting out the middleman because that middleman is the American government, and I got a little bit of patriotism
Nope.
in me.
That's the one
Corporate-
giving him his green card.
I always hate your kayfabe.
God. No corporate entity is going to enable something without getting a cut somewhere.
God forbid you have a real gentleman's bet would be that. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to totally hit like the middle shot in this game of skee ball.
And like typically,
Dan, I don't want us to get banned on YouTube because this is the first episode that I'm on, and so I don't want you advocating for breaking the law. We
And
will
why don't they-
go through the American government to place our gentlemen's bets between ourselves. I have the website pulled up, so let's just, if everybody could just hand me over your social security numbers and we can get this established.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Once we get this
Let's do
done.
this. I'm ready
Why
to
can't
type.
they just do this also at like a Chuck E. Cheese? Because I always imagine that the E stands for enforcement. So if, Chuck E. Cheese don't get his cut, he's going to break your kid's ankles.
Chuck enforcement cheese?
Yes.
That's preposterous.
Is that not right?
No.
You know what? I want to say it's wrong, but I don't know enough about Chuck E. Cheese to dispute it.
The E has got to stand for something.
It has to. All right. So I found the part of the article where they actually lay out a little bit more about this. As a boom in betting increases engagement among sports fans, digital gamification could have a similar effect within Dave & Buster's customer base by allowing loyalty members to compete with one another and earn rewards. Ultimately, it could mean people spend more time and money at the venues. All right, you have a question?
I have a question.
Yeah, no-
Who the hell is really going to Dave & Buster's? Why is that even a thing?
Chuck E. Cheese is.
Yeah, but those are kids, and they're just like...
Oh, they grow up with the Dave & Buster's adults.
Chuck E. Cheese is a gateway to Dave & Buster's.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you go there, you get drunk, and you play Pac-Man. I don't know, what's not to get?
I do that at home.
Yeah, people don't understand emulators, I guess. Oh, another thing I can't mention, I guess, right? Emulators.
I didn't say
Well,
that.
You can't just assume that a thing is going to perform.
It's all right. So like, here's how I'm going to quantify it that may make it different for like the rest of the country. We live in an area that if we want to go play like fucking arcade games, we can just take a 10-minute drive to any fucking shore town that has a boardwalk and go in an
That still
arcade
has
there.
arcades.
Yeah.
But
maybe in middle America.
You can't bet with your friends at those arcades though because they don't have an app.
I can't.
You have to have an app so that you can tell the IRS your social security number and such, so that way you can pay the appropriate taxes if one of you wins the bet.
And it's also, I don't think I've ever bet cash with anybody on anything like that.
I
If you
fucking
buy me my
hope
next
not.
beer if I beat you.
Do I have to register bet winnings over $5?
You just
Over
wait, it's coming.
$0. You have to register everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I wish I had $5.
They only have to give you a form if you go
Yeah.
over.
The form is $50,
Yeah.
and I just registered.
I hope I have enough tickets to win the pen I want to fill it out with.
You don't,
It's got a little
Don't.
koozie ball on
but
top.
I do have a ring that's also a spider, and
Does
you
it
can have
decode
that.
things?
It can. yeah, if you want to.
Okay, let's move on from that.
Yeah.
One last point on this article. It is only for 18 to 44. Hold on.
What?
It was
Wow.
only 18. It's only for 18 and older, where I got the numbers wrong. It's
Gotcha.
going to be in 44 states.
Okay.
And the whole point of this is to attract younger customers, which is funny because this is like, I guess, attract younger like gambling customers.
Well,
Like,
all right.
what are you aiming for?
So if I
here?
could
Well, it's not
interject here.
gambling, Dan.
Yeah,
Because you're using their tokens.
What I would say is that gambling is much more easily available now.
Yeah.
Because you can do it in the palm of your hand.
Yes.
So like you have things like these different sports betting things. You can pretty much listen once you get to like mid-July, you listen to any podcast except for ours. We're not at that level, and we may never get it now.
Yeah.
But
DraftKings,
like DraftKings.
Yeah.
Once you get into that lead up to football season, you just getting lambasted with the DraftKings advertising.
Yeah, it's hard to watch a porn video without getting a DraftKings.
Oh man, you telling me?
To the choir.
But it's
I'm just trying to watch like the
everybody
stuck in the dryer.
It's not even just DraftKings. It's not just even sports betting. So many of the casinos in states where it's allowed, you can bet like casino games right in the palm of your hand.
Yep.
As God intended.
And that takes us to the gamification of gambling, because a lot of these, mobile gambling sites and games and all that stuff come with points. They come with rewards and all that.
Well, yeah,
stuff.
you get the flash in your face. You get the endorphin hit. It's it's video games.
Where gambling is illegal, you can still gamble online like that, and
only in the state.
Oh, it has to be
because you could access it on any phone or
not illegally.
What I know, which is very little, but this is what I know. So when it comes to the local casino things, you have to be within state. New Jersey, it's legal to do the online betting. With DraftKings, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if that's a universal thing or if it's state by state.
What it is that obviously your phone and how you sign up to that is registered to the zip code that you put in.
Yes.
Okay.
And because obviously all of us are law-abiding citizens, we put in the zip code that we live in. So if you don't live in one of those states,
and we definitely don't use a VPN.
Legally allowed to gamble. Now, there's, I don't know how you would get around that. There's, I don't know. Some people obviously break the law, but the gist of it is that you put in your zip code and then it knows the state that you live in, and that's a state where it's legal, because otherwise why the fuck would you be on the website? And then it knows that it can pay you out that money, But obviously, if you lived in Utah, you wouldn't be able to gamble on these websites, unless you were to break the law and put in a different zip code, like the zip code that we lived in New Jersey.
And who would do that?
No, my magic underwear prevents me from it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe cartels would,
That, you know what? That makes Red Dawn make so much more sense.
That's how they do it.
They invaded so they could gamble.
I am very curious.
You know what?
I know it's weird with the casino-based online gambling. Because I remember when it became legal here a couple of years ago that you could do it. No, I never even thought about the DraftKings, if that's like a universal level thing, or if that's still down to state law.
It's all over, yeah.
It's like, how do you even govern that at that point?
That's the thing, though. It's that you're supposed to put in your proper information, right?
Yeah.
And you put that in, and then it knows where you're from.
Right,
you put in your actual home address and what have you.
Yeah.
But you've actually got some people who are downloading a VPN.
Well, absolutely.
And then they're just looking up an address in another state where it is legal, a state like New Jersey. But they actually live in a state where it is not legal, and they're using a VPN and putting that in. And then they can absolutely gamble and collect those winnings illegally. And no one would ever know if they did that.
I know how DraftKings, I had to look this up and I just suddenly remembered.
Yeah.
In 2016, it was determined that fantasy sports was a game of skill rather than chance, that's how they were able to get their foot into the door. Because before it was legalized in all these states, they were just doing fantasy sports.
Yes,
so you could just do your oh my god, fantasy.
Yeah, no, I know.
When I
whistle dog.
I too play D&D.
Whenever I break the law, I always call it something different because that makes it legal.
I don't think anybody in this room I've seen has a legitimate hard gambling issue.
No.
I have.
No.
I have a family member or two that spend probably 2 hours a day going from convenience store to convenience store for the scratch offs.
Oh, for a second I thought you were talking about me, but then he said scratch offs, not craps.
Oh, no.
He scratches off there, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening when I get to the casino.
I'm not even, they say, I like gambling. I do, but I do it a handful of times a year, and that's fine by me because it's fun, and I gamble in the fun ways. Sometimes I go to 7-Eleven just trying to get a Red Bull to save my life.
And that's a gamble.
And I got to wait 20 minutes for everybody to get their scratchers and their
fill out their numbers. Yeah. At the liquor store, that always happens. I just want to go get drunk, but I have to wait for this guy to fill out his little pick 6 ticket.
Oh, yeah. He's got to fill out the card, and then he messes up the card.
Yeah.
Card.
At least 3 times, because that's the ritual. And criminals are a superstitious lot.
There's a lot of superstition in gambling.
Honest man just trying to get wasted at the liquor store.
So I'm trying.
Some sort of fucking low life.
That girl giving out samples is empty now.
At fucking 9 a.m.
I'm just waiting to check out, and I'm drunk off whatever garbage bottle she has.
But you showed up drunk?
Well, I didn't show up drunk, but I left drunk.
Okay, fair enough.
With the advent of the apps and the gamification of it, it's become a lot easier and readily accessible. You don't even have to go anywhere now.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Well, that's for everything. There's even going like food shopping. That's a gamble in and of itself. Like, there's no real reward, but just doing it is just, god damn.
No, they play craps at the grocery store too.
Yeah, at the back end. Well, it's not craps, it's bones.
Oh shit, you roll bones?
Yeah, we roll bones back.
You know CeeLo?
Yeah. Oh, CeeLo. Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you playing behind the shop, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, for real?
That's why I got fired from there.
I'm going to see you on Tuesday. Go ahead, then.
There is actually a gamification to that because you can get rewards points for just going to the grocery store and using
that's
your
true.
little card. So there is that aspect of it too. My question to you guys was going to be, what do you think of the gamification of gambling? Do you think like it in some way makes it less fun for somebody that actually likes to gamble from time to time? Like, do you think lesser of online gambling where it's like it's got to be like a video game and you get points and all this stuff rather than just going to the craps table?
I think that's just differential in method. Like, because all of it's kind of the same. It's just one is analog and the other is digital.
Well, I think there are types of people that enjoy that type of thing. It's like instant gratification. Even if you're not really winning anything, you're getting all these lights and doodads or points or whatever.
You're in the moment.
It's even if you're losing, they're putting these points in your face to make you think like you're winning.
I'll say this as somebody who compulsively and routinely likes to play craps, and I have no addictions, but I like to go to the casino because they give me free drinks while I'm there, and I have like probably like 7, 8, 9, maybe like 12 Hennessy, something like that.
And no addiction.
And no, exactly. Well, that's why I go there because I'm about the experience. You know, I'm about the experience. So I don't want to play it on my phone because I don't have an actual problem. But I do judge people who like play on their phone a little bit. I think they're missing out on the experience of the casino, and like maybe it's 14 Hennessy's or something like that. But realistically, you're paying.
Is that I've seen it? I've been at the table.
The money that you lose while you're gambling, you're getting that back in the alcohol. So really, you're breaking even. So it's like I'll leave maybe like $300 or $400, maybe $600 down, $1,000 down, something like that. But I've drank that much while I was there, and so I'm break even. But meanwhile, I'm looking at these people who have like actual addictions, and like they're playing on their phone, and that's very unfortunate to me.
At the same time as they're gambling.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
If I can add a touch of reality to this, I love playing craps. I play we go together maybe 4 to 6 times a year.
Together we go 4 to 6.
Well, yes.
No addiction.
I'm talking from my side of it. Your side is different.
4 to 6 times per year. That's how many times I go.
You mean a week?
Yeah. No, that's how many times I go in a year.
For me, I like it, and I especially play craps because I like the interaction around the table.
I love that. Some of the interactions that I have, the people like hand me a drink, and it's awesome.
Well, that is one of the most important interactions about being at the craps table is getting those drinks handed to you.
And it reminds me that I'm not there because I'm a gambling addict. I'm there because I'm getting a free drink.
You're an alcoholic.
No, because the drink is free, so I'm not an alcoholic.
But you still need it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's free.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's not an addiction.
That's more money for you to gamble.
My story. So, like, the way I approach gambling, I don't play the lottery. I do things that, like, I have to go. It's like a thing. I have to go to a place that's not close to me. So, growing up, I learned my grandfather used to always bring us to the track. We have a track like the next county up, and we'd go like a couple times in the summer, and like he'd always place bets, but he'd like do like $2 exacta bets and stuff like that, and he'd win on a weird like superfecta or something. Good luck with those odds.
Thank you.
I also, you're welcome. I carried that into my adult life. So like twice during the season, I'll go to the track and I'll play. My thing is, I will take X amount of money that I'm willing to lose. And when that money's gone, then that money's gone. And I'm not going to the ATM. I don't chase it. It's fine. I think you can have a healthy relationship. I think just some people just don't know how to do that.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
The way that I go about it is I'll never go to an ATM. I bring my mortgage with me.
There you go.
And I show that as the collateral, and I'm able to borrow against that. And honestly, those
are good pictures.
It's a money winning situation because like obviously like my mortgage increases, but like the government helps me to pay that off. And so it's like really I'm coming out on top. And in 30 years when my mortgage is paid off, that's what I'm talking about.
When are we doing a mortgage episode? Because I don't understand what he's talking about.
I mean, we're going to have to get really desperate to do one of those.
A mortgage episode.
Yeah.
What is it just going to be?
It's just this episode, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know, because mine's almost paid off, but I don't know what's going on.
I think that's like our Superco episode.
Yeah.
I'd rather just us do a vaudeville episode. We got to get a camera. At least
all right,
one.
play me off, Johnny.
Somebody's got to learn how to play the piano.
So, like, a person like myself, who I think has a fairly good hold on, like, that.
Me too.
Of course. But, like, yeah, like, there are people who ultimately will fall victim to their own gambling.
It's very sad.
But, like, that's on you. And you might not like that, but, like, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
I mean, it's the same
and
with
you're
any
feeding
addiction.
the machine.
Yeah. There's a right way to do things. It's moderation. And, you got to know how to...
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
hold them, know when to fold them.
Exactly. Yeah. There it is.
Well, since you brought it up,
What?
I have here from NBCnews.com.
Oh.
Gambling addiction hotlines say volume is up and callers are younger as online sports betting booms.
I think that is fully...
COVID.
Well,
It's all COVID's fault.
whatever. The younger generation, they have like tech built into their hand, and now that it's so easy to do it right in the palm of your hand, I think that very much
What that
easily
says
leads
to
to
me is
correlation.
that the odds have increased for those of us who have a little bit more experience in the game. So are you saying that I should close a bet right now?
I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying, though, is
Okay.
in this
Doing
particular
it.
story, calls to Ohio's problem gambling network, meanwhile, increased 55% in 2023. The first year legalized sports betting was there.
Can we take that seriously? Because it's Ohio. I don't
state,
know
right?
anybody that lives there or who has lived there that doesn't want to kill themselves.
Well, then you're not going to like these two other states that I have. Florida legalized sports betting in November, and it has since seen calls to its council on compulsive gambling double. Pennsylvania's council on compulsive gambling saw call volume more than double from 2020 to 2023. So you can blame
Well,
COVID on
Florida, that's
Are
just
they
old
still
people.
racing greyhounds down there?
Florida is just old people calling because their family isn't calling them.
Yeah.
That's all that is. I got nothing for Pennsylvania. I guess they're just drunk on Scrapple.
Yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania.
Keystone
So, like,
State.
Pennsylvania
Yeah.
has like these weird like outposts of gambling. So you got like your Mohican Sun.
Yep.
There's like
Yeah.
weird floating
That are close to the
casinos
tri-state,
in like
yeah.
Pittsburgh and like I think there's even like a couple in like Philadelphia. Like weird.
Well, they've got just north of Philly is
that's-
Sands Casino.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of. Yes.
It's made out of an old steel mill.
Yeah.
It's pretty great there, actually.
Connecticut is similar too. They have a Mohican Sun up there.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I think I went there for a concert or something.
Yeah, I did. I think I did as well.
Yeah. These I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
These Indian casino situations, which
Is Mohegan Sun considered one of those?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it
Mohegan.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mohegan, I think is the,
Well,
the name of the tribe.
I've stayed at a Lenape hotel too, but like, I know it wasn't owned by them.
Oh. New Jersey is one of the few states that completely chase these people out.
Do not look up the Lenape Hotel.
No. I'm into it, though. Can I gamble there?
You could gamble with your life because all they serve is crack.
I'm into that.
So, with these stats in mind, now obviously there could be a number of things that.
I mean, sure,
factor
everything's
into
going to be
this, yeah.
multifaceted, but like I think definitely is my last point. I think just the ease of use.
Yeah, the ease of use is
Yeah.
definitely a thing. So with the ease of use, with the potentiality of, costing the integrity of sports,
Mhm.
this, that, and the other thing, I think I already know your answer, Mr. Kayfabe, that is absolutely out there. And Moses,
My name is Simon Cook.
I know what your name is. I wrote it down,
Thank you.
That was stupid.
but I refuse to say it. Anyway,
He took a real gamble on that, huh?
Oh yeah,
could've
I bet
changed
he's
it
going to
by now.
regret it later.
the bigger question to
I'll be
all
here
of
all day.
this would be, is legalizing gambling going to actually be a mistake in the long run?
My straight up honest opinion is I don't think.
I can't imagine.
I don't. You got to know where I'm coming from. I'm self agency. Like it's kind of on you if you can't handle it. I am all about less regulation and everything.
Yeah, if you can handle it, do it. If you can't, I guess continue doing it until you kill yourself and leaving more air for the rest of us.
I feel like it should be illegal because the spreads are way better when it's illegal. The government takes too much of a cut
Well, can't
from
we?
the honest gambler.
Can we
And
make
I've
that
got
a
a
Deadpool?
tremendous amount of debt. I've got 3 mortgages right now, and it's just a lot better when it's just a numbers game out of your local town.
It's insane because you don't actually own a house.
No, that's true. It is on your home, and I was meaning to talk to you about this after the podcast.
That's even weirder because I don't own a house.
I know, and this is like I found out about that house that you were doing the same.
Okay,
thing.
that's
Okay,
going
all
on too long.
right. Let's actually
called
explore
the
this.
shooting
Let's
gallery,
actually
sir.
explore what you were saying, though.
Oh,
Because Was it
That's a gamble.
Was it more fun when it was illegal?
Yes.
Was it actually more because now that you have all of the stuff, the ease of access, before there was a little bit of a guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but I get to do this aspect to it. And
the
now you lose that.
illegality makes it fun.
It does make it more fun, yeah.
It's forbidden. The forbidden fruit of gambling.
It gives it juice.
Yeah, exactly. It's the juice. That's what it's all
That's
about.
why, it kind of took away from weed when they legalized that. It's like, yeah, it's still fun, but it's not as fun because it's legal.
Yeah. Drinking was never more fun than during Prohibition. You guys are too young.
No, I know. I remember that.
know what
I
that
was,
is, but-
I was there for the second one. Yeah,
You were? You look great for your age.
I know.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point. So with it being illegal, probably you negate the ease of accessibility. This is kind of like, I still feel like everything should be illegal. I don't want intervention in anything, whatever, your life, it's yours to ruin. But illegal kind of keeps some of the riffraff out. You get the juice.
Yeah, yeah.
Illegal keeps some of the riffraff in.
Yeah,
too.
I don't.
You
Yeah,
need
that's
that
what I'm
riffraff.
It
saying.
all depends on what your definition of riffraff is.
It's the best kind of riffraff, though. Yeah.
It's all matters of opinion,
Yeah. It's those who have a real, desire to play the game.
perspective.
I mean,
That
obviously,
leaves a little bit of a window there.
yeah, I don't have a hard and fast answer on this. I am always for less
regulation.
regulation.
I'll say this, that when things are legal, it makes it hard to beat the house because the house is the government. And I think that we would all agree that it's very difficult to beat the government at their own game because they make the rules.
Yeah, you can't fight
So-
City Hall.
You cannot fight City Hall, my friend, 100%. So when the game is perhaps a little bit forbidden, your odds increase.
Also, forbidden is a sexy word.
It is, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I'm into it.
It doesn't mean anything.
Fair enough.
All right.
Guys, and your tangent.
What have you two done during this entire podcast? Good grief.
I'm feeling talkative and silly.
Where is it?
There she
we
is.
go.
There it is.
I miss you, Gil.
Yeah. I had odds on him pressing that button.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
I got to pay off these debts.
What's the vig on
My
that one?
bookie is on his way right now. It's a serious thing.
Oh, is it
I'm
Chuck
making
E.
light
Cheese?
of it, but it's literally Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck
yeah.
Enforcer Cheese?
Yeah. It's my knees are in tremendous danger.
If you can think of anything,
Give me the cheddar.
shut up.
God damn it.
Can you think of anything that, maybe the most obscure, benign bet that you've ever made?
Oh, myself?
Yeah.
I mean, I bet on absolutely everything. Yeah. I think that in general, because that's really what it is. It's that betting is something that you can do with absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And I love to make those completely innocuous, stupid bets. You're betting who's going to walk in the door next. If you bring it back to sports, you could bet on which way this guy's going to turn. You can bet if he's going to miss the shot.
Something so
becomes
minute,
so
yeah.
fucking nuanced.
You can bet on how long the national anthem is going to take at the Super Bowl.
Exactly. You can bet on anything. And that's exactly why there's really no role for government in that or any higher institution than yourself.
I don't know. It sounds very chaotic, and I'd like the government to be involved with it.
Well, that's exactly why we shouldn't do that, because we're trying to produce order here. And it's fine to gamble and whatnot, but the government does need to be involved, and it does need to be orderly and follow these very strict rules, because it's the only way that it makes any type of sense. That said, I'm going to bet that there's probably about 5 minutes left in this podcast.
One would hope.
Moses, you, of all people, want order?
Oh, yeah.
Agent of chaos.
It's because if the more order there is, the more rules there are to break, and it just, spreads out the field.
I hate your Joker-like answer.
Oh. No, well, I made a bet for that.
All right, Justin asked you a question, though. What is the most obscure bet that you've ever placed?
I feel like at one point I was watching a soccer game at the bar, and I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I was more or less right at the cusp of blackout drunk. So I'm able to remember this, but it's a bit of a hazy thing. I was betting against Justin the mechanic, and my bet was that someone would be injured within the next 5 minutes. I forced him to take the bet because I was just so aggressive, and he reluctantly took it. And sure enough, I was right because it was a soccer game.
It sounds like just a shakedown.
It's just
That doesn't
it
sound
was
like a
kind
bet.
of a shakedown, and that's really what gambling is.
But were they really injured?
No, I kind of embellished it a little bit. Yeah. He fell down and he held his knee, and that's enough for me.
Put on a good show.
Justin, sir, what's the most obscure bet that you've ever made?
So, mostly has to deal with stuff I can't particularly really say, but who's going to flip out first in any given day at work, things like that.
I actually want to chime back in because I remembered another one. I was at the bar the other day, and I was taking bets on what the person sitting across the bar from us, what his profession was.
Oh.
It was actually a very heated bet. I don't know how I forgot this, probably the alcohol. The one bet was that he was an attorney, and the other bet that was that he was a detective. And this took it was basically, you could imagine how he's dressed, basically the two opinions there.
Like a legit detective or like a gumshoe detective?
Like a bullshit detective.
Oh, okay.
Like he's, he works for a local police department. Basically, the guy was like, he was a little bit overweight. He was wearing a dress shirt that was tucked in. He had a tie, but none of it looked very good. So he could have been like a shitty attorney, defense attorney, or he could have been, a fucking, a detective of some sort. Could have gone either way. Basically looked the part. And there was a high level of debate involved with this. I believe the bet was a martini, which I didn't want and certainly did not need. But nonetheless, I was very adamant about winning it. And it resulted in us having to go and like basically approach this person. I can't even remember which way it actually ended up. I feel like I lost the bet in general. But really, in the end, I feel like when you make bets like this, and this is the difference between betting against the house, betting against the government, and so on and so forth, it's that even when you lose, you win.
Yeah.
Because it's about the fun.
I did just think of something else. So I know it was brought up briefly in another podcast, but I used to terrorize the touch tune machines in bars when they came out.
Oh, love that.
And I remember doing wagers because like you could tell somebody bombed the machine with their shitty fucking music.
Yeah.
And the bar would be full.
Yeah.
We used to play wagers. Then I would take
Nickelback.
over the machine and place wagers on who the person would be that gets super upset that their songs are no longer playing.
And that's the fun gambling.
Yeah.
It's fun to bet on sports. It's fun to bet on these things that are like very, mathematical and data driven and the big thing that we all care about.
But the human condition.
The real gambling happens at the local level. It's about people and it's about community and getting more in touch with each other. It's judging other people at the bar. Really, that's what it's about. I think that's magical.
Yeah, I think you got something there.
Yeah, I've lost a lot of money doing this.
Yeah, it's all socioeconomic.
Moses,
Yes.
what is your most obscure bet?
I don't have, I guess for obscure, we used to do slap bets. And I remember there would be, we were arguing about Chewbacca. And you were like, no, he's not from Kashyyyk.
I feel like you're gaslighting me right now. Absolutely not. He's from Kashyyyk.
Well, I'm doing another bet too. This is a side bet for somebody else.
You're forgetting that you and I used to bet martinis.
You did used to bet martinis.
I won a lot of martinis.
Oh, yes.
You won one.
Well, I've won a couple.
Okay. Can you give me a little bit more time on that mortgage, though? Seriously.
No, it's due.
God damn it.
Now you're just a squatter.
All right.
All right. Well, I am
You
not.
have more rights, though.
I am not.
That's true.
All right. Knock it off.
Dan, what do you got?
I am not the gambling type. I'm actually the one person in my my family every year. I think I've said this on the podcast before. We go to the track.
Right.
I'm the one person in my family doesn't actually bet on any of the horses. But
What an asshole!
there's a button here. You don't call that out. You don't get to do that.
You're no Gilbert.
But I actually do have something of a gambling story.
Oh, cool.
So a buddy of mine from my old job when I was an electrician, he was a big time sports bettor. And he was like, oh, man, who do you like in this game every once in a while to me? And I'd be like, whatever. But there was one time I actually went to him. I'm like, dude, you got to bet this game. And it was Texas A&M versus Alabama.
Okay.
And I went to him and I said, Texas A&M is going to win. This is in the height of Alabama absolutely being the evil empire, winning the national championships and all that.
Oh,
and I went
I heard Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
This is 2012.
Yeah.
When they had Texas A&M had Johnny Manziel.
Oh,
so,
Johnny Football.
So I go to my buddy, who's also named Dan, and I said, bet A&M on this game. And he's like, I'm not going to do that, man. That's not a good bet. And I'm like, dude, just bet a small amount. Like, look at the odds.
Right.
And if you lose, first of all, you're not going to lose very much money. And if you win, holy shit. This is and the likelihood of this to actually happen because Manziel is such a good quarterback.
He was.
Was. Only in college, not in the pros. He got drafted by the Browns. Sorry.
Maybe I'm getting him mixed up with Johnny Weissmuller.
You are.
Oh, yeah.
You are. Because the fact that you even said that name confirms that you were very confused the entire time. And it's also, I watched that game. Again, big time college football fan. Led the freaking podcast today that I'm a big sports fan. I watched that game and it was absolutely insane. That guy should have been tackled like a million times. It was like, nope, touchdown pass.
Yep.
So all that to say, that guy made some money that game.
I do have a funny kind of gambling story. When I was working at the clinic, there was like a football pool.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like, I just went in it knowing nothing of football. And I was just like, oh, I like the Saints colors. So they're going to win it all this year. And that was the year that they went almost undefeated and won the Super Bowl. And I made so much money not knowing a fucking thing. And everybody was so pissed about it.
It's also pretty amazing that you picked them at the time frame in which they had Drew Brees in that little pocket where it's just like, no, actually the Saints are actually really good. And they have one of the best quarterbacks. First of all, it was the best quarterback in their history. I remember watching that Super Bowl, by the way. I was like, I like Drew Brees. He should have been I got wasted watching that freaking Super Bowl just because.
Didn't they play the Giants?
What's that?
Wasn't that's where they played the Giants or the Bills?
No, the Saints played the Colts.
That one?
In that Super Bowl. That was the only Super Bowl the Saints have ever won. I got wasted because the Dolphins could have drafted him way back in the day, I think 2001, 2002.
Yeah,
and then they passed on signing him to go to Jontay Culpepper. And I was just like, you know what? As a Dolphins fan, life is not worth living.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what is worth it? Subscribing to this podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure that you like, comment, and definitely share. Hit that notification so you don't miss any of our content. Follow us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We also have a home base, loudanddrunk.com. Merch, catch up on the podcast, everything you need, Loud and Drunk, go to our website. And we also have locals and Patreon, so check those out. And if you feel like contributing to this podcast, then please do. Hashtag get Dan paid. So for Moses, Justin, and Simon Cook, your kayfabe was insufferable in this episode.
What is integrity?
I'm a very frustrated Dan. Until next time. Yeah, life is not worth living as a Dolphins fan. That's really come to hit me right now.
Do what Dan said, or else we're going to send Chucky Enforcer Cheese after you.
I'll bet you he lives another day.
Maybe.
All right, $5.
I'm ending this.